Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever watched a professional badminton doubles match and just wondered, how on earth do they not constantly crash into each other? I mean, the game is incredibly fast, brutally aggressive, and honestly, it looks like total chaos. But today, we're diving into the neuroscience of how they actually pull it off. Because right underneath all that chaos is this absolutely beautiful structure. It really prompts the question of how these elite athletes move like two bodies sharing a single nervous system. Right? Like, how do they rotate so seamlessly, avoid swinging at the exact same shuttle, and always just seem to be exactly where their partner needs them? The answer isn't telepathy, it's not luck, and it definitely isn't just quote-unquote good chemistry.
As we covered in our previous explainer, you only have about 0.2 seconds to react to a smash. That is literally the hard biological limit of human reaction time. So, if there's barely enough time to react to the shuttle, there simply isn't enough time to react to your partner simultaneously. I mean, if you wait to see where your partner goes before you decide to move, you've already lost the rally. So let's dive right into this. The real secret to beating that biological clock is something sports psychologists call a shared mental model. Elite players don't actually react, they predict. They use implicit coordination to anticipate and execute actions as a single unit. And they do this completely without explicit verbal communication. Basically, both of their brains converge on the exact same predictive model of the rally. Using brain imaging techniques, researchers have found something pretty wild. Expert teammates can actually exhibit interpersonal neural synchronization. This means their brain activity in regions associated with motor planning literally gets in sync. Now, while this hasn't been studied extensively in elite badminton itself, it offers a really compelling explanation for what we see out on the court. It's like, imagine an invisible elastic rope connecting both players. When one player moves, the other adjusts automatically. Not because they have superhuman reflexes, but because both players are predicting the exact same future. And the difference between amateur and professional logic here is stark. Club players simply watch and react to the shuttle, but elite pairs, they anticipate the future by continuously predicting their partner's next move. They aren't memorizing static positions out there. Instead, they memorize these tactical rules that govern the flow of the entire game. For instance, they always follow the flow of the attack. Think of it kind of like a shared decision tree. If you're hitting downward, you have the initiative, right? So one player pressures the net while the other controls the rear. But the very moment your opponents force you to lift the shuttle, both players instantly and automatically rotate into a side-by-side defense to cover the full width of the court. The shot itself is the trigger for the rotation. Now here is an insight that completely changed how I view the game. In an attacking formation, the front player is effectively blind to what's happening behind them. They are up there hunting for a net kill, totally focused forward, and they simply cannot see where their partner is standing in the rear court. Because the front player has to commit to a side blindly, the rear player steps up to act as the team's navigator. The rear player reads the entire system. They watch the opponent's shot, they observe where the front player is aggressively moving, and then they dynamically adapt their own positioning to cover whatever gaps are left. They're constantly balancing the court in real time. Which brings us to a pretty massive misconception. A lot of amateur players imagine the court split perfectly in half. You know, half is mine, half is yours. But relying on that permanent territory division is actually a huge mistake that leaves some really dangerous gaps open to attack. In reality, artificial intelligence research mapping badminton courts shows us shifting dynamic control areas. It proves that elite pairs don't own territory. They control space. Depending on the rally, one player might be controlling 70% of the court's immediate danger zones, while their partner manages the other 30%. It's basically a living, breathing map that both brains are tracking at the exact same time. So to manage this living map, players use something called visual coupling. Because what exactly are they predicting out there? It's not the shuttle, it's each other. Your partner isn't just your teammate anymore. They actually become a literal extension of your visual system. You're constantly picking up tiny pieces of information about them, using both your central and peripheral vision.
Let's test this with a quick thought experiment. I want you to imagine a professional rally and just freeze frame it in your mind. The rear player hasn't even taken a single step yet. Based on what's happening right then, can you predict where they'll go next?
Well, if you just watch the shuttle, you'd have absolutely no idea. But elite players are reading micro cues, a slight shoulder rotation, a shift of body weight, the direction of a recovery step, even the angle of the racket. These tiny clues reveal where a partner is about to move before they even get there, shaving precious fractions of a second off their decision-making.
And as they move based on those cues, they utilize the rubber band principle. Think about it. If players get too close together, they leave the far corners completely open. But if they get too far apart, the middle of the court is fatally exposed. So they continuously regulate their distance like a rubber band, stretching and contracting based entirely on the threat level. This dynamic spacing naturally creates movement lanes on the court. It's a lot like traffic engineering, where two cars choosing the same lane results in a pretty bad crash. Badminton players occupy these shifting lanes. Because they're predicting their partner's trajectory via those microcues we just talked about, they ensure they never enter the same lane at the same time, resulting in zero collisions. You can also think of this as the geometry of doubles. Every single short in a rally creates this geographical triangle between you, your partner, and the shuttle. Stretching this triangle too far creates a ton of dangerous uncovered space on the court. Good positioning is all about keeping this triangle tight and balanced at all times. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're forced to lift the shuttle deep into your opponent's right corner. You don't just stand there in the middle of your respective boxes. Both players have to shift their base together toward that right side. You move as one unit toward the immediate danger zone to close off that straight down the line smash.
Now, as you might guess, you can't build this invisible rope overnight. It definitely takes time. In month 1 with a new partner, you're relying entirely on explicit shouts. Yours, mine. But over months of practice with the exact same partner, you start to learn the triggers. You pick up on those micro cues, and eventually you develop that shared mental model, shifting into complete silent coordination. So if you want to apply this directly to your own game, you can begin developing your own mutual anticipation today. Stop watching only the shuttle and use your peripheral vision to notice the direction of your partner's hips and shoulders. Focus on controlling dynamic space right now, rather than just passively guarding your 50% of the court. Let the rear player navigate, and always let your rotation follow the flow of the attack. Ultimately, what you really should take away from this explainer is that you have to elevate your awareness completely beyond just staring at the cork and feathers flying around. Great doubles players don't just play the shuttle, they play the entire system.
That invisible rope we talked about, it isn't between your rackets, it's between your brains. So the next time you step onto the court, I'll leave you with this thought to consider. When that shuttle is in the air, are you simply reacting to the game, or are you sharing a brain with your partner to predict the future? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.